Okay, so as it turns out, the last video I posted, somebody watched it and liked it, or at least watched some of it, but it did get copyright struck and immediately taken down after being up for only like 20 minutes or something. But either way, I'm going to re-upload the video, and I downloaded a copyright free or non-copyright music for YouTube on Spotify. And since this isn't going to have the actual video's audio, it's just going to be me talking over it this whole time, I'm just going to read a fucking book. I'll just read a book, and whoever watches, enjoy the gameplay and enjoy the free commentary with the book. But I guess I'll start it off like I did the actual video, which was something along the lines or something to the effect of, I don't make these videos for anybody except for one particular person in the hopes that she's actually watching these videos. I hope that she sees them. No offense to anybody else, but I make these videos for one person. If you aren't her and you are watching these videos, thanks. I do appreciate it. It's not like I'm not appreciative of the fact that you are spending time to watch this. But to the one person I do hope that actually sees this, I love you and I miss you a tremendous amount. Yeah, just so everybody else knows, whoever's watching this, I don't make these videos for monetization. I don't make this to become a YouTube star or YouTube streamer, whatever. I don't give a shit about any of that. I literally just want one person to see this. That's it. Okay, but the book I do have, I'm a huge fucking nerd. So the book I'm going to be reading is Death Note, Change the World. I don't remember where I got this. I think it was Barnes and Nobles, but I read a lot of manga. I read a lot of light novels. I read a lot in general. But this one is an actual novel for Death Note. I saw it and I thought, hey, this is interesting. There's only one copy of it, so I figured I might as well fucking snag it while it's still there. I don't have a camera set up, so you're just going to have to bear with me here. Alright. Cast of characters: L the detective, Kimihiko Nakaido, immunologist, Maki Nakaido's daughter, Kimiko Kujo, Nakaido's assistant, Hideki Suruga, FBI agent, and Daisuke Matoba, director of NPO Blue Ship. Alright. L272 LA, L's affair. So how's it going, Fairman? Must be difficult having to step in for Naomi and all. FBI agents Sugita and Fairman managed to avoid the LA traffic as they headed down Vine Street towards the airport. In an effort to break the ice with Fairman, with whom he was partnered for the most time, Sugita brought up the subject of Naomi Misura, who'd left the bureau the week before to get married. By difficult, Sugita was of course alluding to, among other things, Fairman having to succeed an agent who had been stuck with the name Misura Massacre, the agent who had earned L's trust. Difficult, yeah, Fairman replied laconically from the passenger seat. Perhaps not one for a conversation. This is going to be one quiet ride, Sugita mumbled to himself. He remembered the stubble on his face and looked down at the attaché case on Fairman's lap. What does the Secretary of State want with confidential files from over 20 years ago anyway? Who knows, Fairman said. Far be it for us foot soldiers to understand what the higher-ups are thinking, and most of the time it's safer that way. Sugita noticed something and peered into the rearview mirror. What is it, Sugita? Fairman asked. It's nothing, said Sugita, shaking his head and getting a grip on the steering wheel. Sorry, man. I have to hop out for some cigarettes. Sugita stopped for a red light and Fairman suddenly got out, attaché case in hand. Hey, the attaché case. Maybe he hadn't heard Sugita, but Fairman was not looking in the direction of the storefronts. Instead, He was looking at the street traffic as if waiting for something. The cell phone inside Sugita's breast pocket vibrated. The display read private call. Sugita hit the talk button. There are no patrons in the boutique, Sugita. The voice was distorted by a vocoder. Vocoder? The call was ended before Sugita could even ask who it was. What was that? A wrong number? Sugita mumbled to himself. The moment Sugita turned his attention out the window, Fairman fired his gun. A tractor trailed, crossing the intersection, jerked out of control, then flipped over. The trailer slid on its side, sparks flying and black smoke pouring from the cab as it hurtled towards Sugita's car. From around the curtain of smoke, a chase car closed in on Sugita from behind. Damn, we were being followed. Chewing his lip, Sugita tried to back the car into a side alley but was blocked. For a split second, Fairman's sneering face came into view. His retreat cut off. Sugita glanced around for another escape. Got it. Sugita pointed the car toward the sheet of flame now engulfing the still-moving trailer and floored it. He jerked the wheel to avoid a collision and popped up onto the sidewalk, hitting a fire hydrant. The car picked up speed and smashed into the show window of a boutique. Sugita shouted, There better not be any patrons," as he tore into the store. The trailer collided with the chase car and exploded. The doors flew open and the passengers, more flame than men, tumbled out onto the street. "What do you think you're doing, Fairman?" Sugita bolted out of the boutique, still tangled in the dresses from the display racks, and marched up to Fairman, his gun drawn. Fairman pointed his gun at Sugita, glanced at the burning men on the ground, and muttered in disgust. "The plan was to make it look like you burned to death along with the files, but..." Fairman, who'd been inching backward, suddenly broke into a run. Sugita chased after him, but the streets were too crowded with onlookers to discharge his weapon. Damn, Naomi up and quits one day, and later, this is what happens? Fairman rounded a corner and collided with a guy in a bear suit standing in front of a crepe truck marked Bear's Crepes. The impact sent the bear's armful of soda bottles rolling down the sidewalk. Fairman slipped and fell as if a rug had been pulled out from under him. Despite hitting his hip on the pavement, Fairman recovered quickly, retrieved the case, and took off again. "Mister, would you like a crepe?" the man in the bear suit called out casually as Sugita darted past. "Not now, in a hurry." "They're good," the bear shouted, "and sweet." Fairman was moving slower after this fall. Then he crashed into an old woman, and they fell into a heap with her on top. "Don't move," Sugita raised his gun. Fairman wrapped an arm around the old woman's neck and jammed the barrel of his gun up against her temple. The attaché case hit the ground nearby. The closest pedestrians ran for cover, while those across the street stood and watched. The man in the bear suit distanced himself from the crowd and spoke in a low voice. A transceiver was embedded inside the costume. "Watari, we have an unforeseen situation. Change target from the briefcase to the man on the run." "Copy." Watari looked down over the action from a nearby rooftop, peered through the scope of the rifle, and mumbled, "Who do we have here?" A little girl standing in front of a store with a Coke reached for a roll of Mentos, dropped a few of the candies into the bottle, and aimed it at the fireman. The Coke spurted like a geyser, squarely hitting its target. The barrel of Fairman's gun strayed from the old woman's neck for a split second. Without missing a beat, Sugita put a bullet through Fairman's shoulder. In the same instant, Watari took aim at the briefcase and squeezed the trigger. The briefcase burst apart, sending fiery fragments of classified documents flying like confetti. Sugita surveyed the scene, unable to grasp what had happened. "Respect your elders," the girl with the Coke bottle scolded Fairman in rapid-fire Japanese, then walked away with a satisfied air. Sugita stood in a daze, the charred documents in his hand. When the phone in his breast pocket vibrated, it was headquarters. "Y286, we have an emergency. The orders we received from the Secretary of State were faked. You might be in for an ambush." "That you, Ray? Thanks for the intel. You might have saved my ass." No sooner had he ended the call than the phone vibrated again. It was Naomi this time. "I guess married couples think alike." "What are you mad about? Listen, I can't seem to get a hold of Fairman. There's an assignment I forgot to tell him about." Sugita watched the police car take Fairman away and let out a deep sigh. "Naomi, it looks like I'll be taking over your assignments." "Why? What's going on?" she asked, suspicious. Sugita replied as throwing up his hands in surrender. "I'll take care of everything. The daily battles with the boss, the investigation with Elle, all of it. Congratulations on your nuptials, Naomi. Real quick. For anybody that doesn't understand why I'm reading, the one particular person that I want to see these videos, she's told me before that one of the things that she really enjoys was when I read to her. So that's why I'm reading. I enjoy reading in and of itself. I do it a lot anyways. And I always thought reading to another person is always nice, or having something read to you is always nice. So I always like to read to her. So now I can read to everybody. I do have to keep an eye on this time so we don't... 45 minutes to read, okay. The young girl who'd thrown the coke stopped the crepe truck and started at the bear mask. Okay, let me restart that. The young girl who'd thrown the coke stopped at the crepe truck and stared at the bear mascot with rounded shoulders. She took it upon herself to voice an honest opinion. What a weird-looking crepe shop. Mind your own business, the man in the bear suit answered indignantly and in Japanese. The girl wasn't at all shocked to hear her native language in a foreign land. Oh, you speak Japanese. Good. I'll have a chocolate crepe. Extra chocolate. Overwhelmed by the girl's energy, the man in the bear suit awkwardly began to make a crepe. The girl seemed satisfied when he handed her a crepe dripping with chocolate sauce. Ooh, that's plenty. But you really should work on your crepe making skills. See ya. The girl waved and strode off in high spirits. The man in the bear suit lowered the zipper, shedding the suit down to his waist and sighed. I'm no good with girls. It appears that even Elle isn't accustomed to dealing with such a cheerful girl, said Watari. The elderly gentleman approached with a serene smile and a rifle, which seemed incongruous with his butler-like comportment. That went well, Watari. An attaché case exactly like the one Fairman carried rested at the feet, the bear paws of the man called Elle. Classified FBI files, a valuable acquisition. I suppose this is a fair reward considering we helped the FBI flush out a spy in their midst. Elle had switched the real attaché case with a dummy containing explosives and burned documents when Fairman had tripped and fallen. At the precise moment Sugita shot Fairman, Watari had destroyed the attaché case. For Detective Elle, this was a customary method of gathering intelligence. Are the contents what you were expecting? Watari's question seemed premature considering that Elle had just removed the thick report from the briefcase. However, like a child throwing a tantrum, he began to tear through the pages and in a blink of an eye had finished and was nodding emphatically. Yes, it reveals the truth behind the explosion of an infectious disease lab in 1980. The research lab was destroyed to conceal the biohazard linked with the development of a biological weapon. A limousine pulled up next to the crepe truck. Watari stowed the rifle in the trunk and took an enormous silver tray, complete with the domed lid. He removed the lid to offer Elle a macaron by Jean-Paul Heaven from the pyramid stack on the tray. But I don't believe the United States is developing virus weapons, at least not openly, Watari said, holding out the tray for Elle. Elle snatched up 4 macaroons, I don't know, one between each of his fingers, and then quickly put one in his mouth as he might devour his hand along with it. Yes, even since Nixon's proclamation in '69, the U.S. has ceased all developments of offensive biological weapons, he said, his mouth full, and in theory have only been working on developing defensive weapons. As if the macaroons were not sweet enough for his taste, Elle twisted off the cookie top of one of them and drizzled chocolate sauce over it. Even nuclear weapons are in reality more effective as a deterrent than as an offensive weapon. By the same principle, the pretext of developing biological weapons as leverage to deter an attack would hold up. The former Soviet Union also secretly continued its biological weapons program even after signing the Biological Weapons Ban Treaty in '72. By the way, licking the chocolate from his fingers, Elle directed his gaze towards the park across the street. Interesting girl. The girl had befriended an old woman and her dog and was now chasing after the dog as it wagged its tail playfully. Maki Nikaido, Wataru smiled. Do you know her, Wataru? I know her father well. He is the world's preeminent immunologist, Professor Nikaido. He's listed as a distinguished professor at WAMI's, if I'm not mistaken. Wataru, also known as Quillish Whammy, Wami, I don't know, had used the enormous earnings from the patents of his many inventions to establish the Whammy Foundation, an organization dedicated to building orphanages around the world. Among them, one orphan took in high intelligent children from around the world without regard to nationality, race, or gender, and provided them with specialized education. The orphanage was called Whammy's House. There was no formal school or academic departments at Whammy's. Instead, university professors, researchers, and top specialists in their fields from around the world were invited to give individual instruction to the children according to their abilities and potential. No doubt she's here with her father for the conference on infectious disease at the International Convention Center, Wataru said. L bit his nails and watched as he watched the girl frolic with the dog. I have a feeling we'll see her again. You're usually right about these things. And please include that agent in the list of candidates. That way, he evaded the tractor trailer along with his presence of mind in minimizing the fire damage by breaking open the fire hydrant was first rate. That FBI agent Sugita, Agent Naomi Misora, had left the bureau. That was FBI agent Sugita. Agent Naomi Misora had left the bureau, said Wataru. Elle began to climb out of the bear suit. Our job is done here, Wataru. We need to move on to the next mission immediately. Is there a case that might warrant your attention? None of the police or investigation bureaus have recognized it as a case yet, but there have been reports of perpetrators of heinous crimes turning up dead of heart failure, including among them are criminals whose whereabouts only I can verify, Elle said. If this turns out to be a matter for further investigation, our approach will not be effective. It's imperative that we get to work immediately. We should go to your personal safe house in Arizona. I'll arrange for a helicopter immediately. And what shall I do with these documents? Despite the trouble they'd gone through to obtain them, the confidential FBI files were no longer of importance to Elle. What's Near doing now? Working on a white jigsaw puzzle at the house as usual. He did complain that the solution to the Madrid serial murders was too easy, too boring. Then pass these on to him. The attempted theft of these files is somehow connected with whoever is pulling Fairman's strings and the biohazard at the research lab. No doubt they were secretly exerting some influence over the 1980 presidential election as well. I would think finding the key to solve these mysteries is a perfect puzzle for him to work on. Of course. Now shall we go? Wataru opened the limousine door and urged Elle inside. Shuffling toward the limousine with both hands shoved in his pocket, he stopped for a moment to look up at the sky. Wataru loaded the bear suit into the truck, straightened his rounded back just a bit. Elle muttered something like a premonition. If this turns out to be a murder case, we may be in for a long battle. I didn't know this book even existed, but it definitely seems like it's going to be a prequel, if not run congruent with, or run parallel with, the entirety of Death Note. Maybe not. Not 100% positive what this book is supposed to be. Interesting so far, though. I'm actually watching this video now. I'm trying to remember this mission. Oh, I had also mentioned in this video that there are only 5 chapters in this game. And over the last couple playthroughs, or videos, I had made it all the way through chapter 1 and 2. So by the end of this video, I don't know exactly how far into the game I am, but I've got to be relatively or decently into the game, at least like 40-50%. I don't know how long chapters 3, 4, and 5 are, but chapter 2 is stupid short, ridiculously short. So here I do get a resupply. I will have to fight a boss here. If I'm not mistaken, I think I die the first time. Come and get it the second time. I won't know until I see what's over this wall. No, I actually think I won't try this. I end up with like almost no health, but I'm almost positive I do one try this. Hold on. Okay, continuing. I heard the commotion outside. Did something happen, Maki? Professor Nikaido asked his daughter as he entered the hotel room. No, not really. Maki shook her head with an impish grin as Nikaido gently rested a hand on her head. Maki, I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave for Africa right away. Africa? What for? Well, I received word from an immunologist friend of mine about an outbreak of an unknown virus in a remote part of the Congo. 2 villages have been destroyed by an Ebola-like hemorrhagic flu. I know we made a promise to go to the original Disneyland after the conference. He allowed his words to trail off apologetically. Maki frowned and shook her head. Daddy, people are suffering from the virus. What is it you have to do? Smiling grimly at his daughter's counsel, Nikaido patted her head. You're right. I can't lose sight of what I have to do. It's what I've always been telling you, isn't it? Daddy, I'm going with you, Maki declared. Now, Maki, it's dangerous where I'm going. You're going back to Japan. I told you. I made a promise to Mom that I would take care of you in her place. That's what I have to do. And it looks like that ends chapter 1. So, give me a few minutes. Enjoy the video. I'm getting my ass kicked. I only have 2,900 health. I'm going to go use the restroom real quick and grab another drink. BRB. One thing I really like about this book is that it comes with its own, what's it called? Bookmark? Have you ever seen like journals or notebooks or whatever that have the little tassels on them that come embedded in the spines? But that's what this book has. It has like a little tassel with it. So literally, I don't even need a bookmark for this. It's pretty cool. Oh, man, I was dragging ass at work today. Stupid. I was so tired of people's shit. Was not feeling it. Sorry, I zoned out there for a second. I was just watching this. I don't think I ever actually used the attack. I know that the first time I played this game, I tried to use the kick, and it kind of just got in the way of shit. I know that the armor stuff is actually pretty good. That terminal armor is decent. It's like there's a spell in Dark Souls that you can cast on yourself that basically, like, when your HP reaches 0, you still end up with like 1 HP. I believe that terminal armor does the same thing. But I don't know, these other ones, like the ones that I actually end up buying, the kinetic and something else, I think they're just passive, so they're just helpful. Can't argue with that. Oh, also, again, mainly just trying to convey to one person how I'm doing and things going on in my life. So you know that I got my ears pierced a bunch over the last year, all the way back in October or November of last year. I had 4 piercings on each ear. I think the last time we had actually talked, they were all relatively new. So I ended up keeping all of them open while I was away. Yes, I did it. I managed to somehow. I kept them all open and actually gauged some of them and made them larger. So for anybody that is watching this, that is not the one person, I have 4 piercings on each ear. And the piercings on the lobe, the very bottom part of the lobe, those are double zeros. And then they move up the back side of the lobe. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the second one on each ear, on my right ear, it's gauged as a 0, and the left ear is gauged at a 2. So the very bottom one is double 0 on both ears, and the right ear is a 0 for the second one, and the left ear for the second one is a 2. On the right side, the third one moving up the lobe is at a 6, and on the left side, the third one moving up the lobe is a 4. Yeah, I got it to a 4. All right, and then the very top one, the fourth one, on each side is just a regular 14. It's just a regular stud. I guess when I talked to the people that pierced them, the lady that pierced them, she was saying that the average piercing is like an 18 gauge, but I asked her if she could just gauge them so I'd have more options. So I do have some stuff that I could stick through there that's at a 14 gauge. It's nothing crazy or anything, but I do like to wear a chain from my left ear to my lip piercing because I do have the left side of my lip pierced. So I just like to keep it as a 14 gauge stud. I don't want to do anything crazy with that very top one. What I'm going for on both ears, from the very bottom lobe, moving up the back side of the ear, so 1, 2, and 3, I want to get them to 00, 0, and 2. I do have matching jewelry for the 00, 0, and 2. I have green silicones and what are they called? Black titanium. I guess they call them bullet holes or whatever, but they're just basically just straight holes that you can see through that are black titanium. And then I have black surgical steel ones, at least for the, I want to say for the 2 and 00. I wasn't able to find them in the zeros, but I was also thinking about getting silicone ones, black silicone ones in 00, 0, and 2s, just so I have more options. But I'm going for a particular look on the ears. It's strange though, the left side of my ear, it's like perfectly straight. Like the lobe doesn't bend or anything, but the right side, my right ear, there's like a little, it's like an angle, almost like an obtuse angle. If you know any geometry, I would say it's like if 180 degrees is a straight line, it's like maybe at the right lobe from the bottom moving up. Okay, so if the bottom part, the 00, is just a flat line, then where it hits the 0 on the right side, it's like maybe 160 degree angle. It's just a little, it's like a little crooked. I don't know what the fuck happened there, if it's just extra cartilage in my ear or whatever, but it just looks a little strange with the silicone only. When I don't have the silicone in there, it looks better, but I don't know what it is with the silicone ones. Maybe it's because they flare out a bunch and they cover a bit more of my earlobe. It just looks a bit funny, but okay, I'll get back to reading in a moment, but just some commentary on this mission. As I was reading for this mission, I was kind of bothered because it basically said I was going to have to do a stealth mission, and I only do stealth in Splinter Cell. There's a particular Splinter Cell that I actually like to play still. I have it downloaded on my Xbox. It doesn't have the servers up for it anymore, so you can't play online co-op, which is really sad because that game co-op is fantastic. But it's Splinter Cell Conviction. That one used to have a 2-player online co-op that was very, very, very fun. I believe you can still play it split screen, but I still have that one downloaded on my Xbox just because it's such a good game. That was the one where I first got introduced when I was younger to the FN57, an actual gun IRL. That gun is very expensive. The ammunition is not readily available all the time. You're much better off buying a gun chambered in 45 or 9mm, just because those calibers are much more readily accessible and available everywhere you go. Even 22 LR is way more accessible. But in any event, 5.7, awesome gun. I don't know if I'd ever want to own one IRL though. That'd be crazy. I mean, maybe if you could just, bought the gun, ran 500 rounds through it just to get the barrel broken in, and then, I don't know, bought an extra 5,000 rounds and just stocked them, just had them. It's a crazy expensive gun, and the ammunition is just, I don't know, it's not worth it really. You're always better off with just something like a 9mm. Can't go wrong with it. Okay, I'm not 100% positive on this boss right here. I honestly think you could probably go one of two ways with this mission. It seems like at some point his health resets. So you notice his health is already like, I don't know, 15% down. At some point his health actually resets, and he does some dialogue. There's going to be some captions for it and everything, but he basically says like, hey, stop it, like, let's be friends, we can talk this out, you know who I am, like, we can do, yeah, there he goes. Yeah, no, I am Swinburne, I cannot lose. Oh, but you can, and you will. Yeah, look, it resets again. Oh, he's using Hell's Kits. That's what it's got to be. There's no other way. But what I was saying is, I think maybe at some point, like he calls almost like a ceasefire. Right, let's not do anything hasty. So right here, his health disappears. I'm wondering if you stop attacking him, if the mission can go another way. Because as it stands, this mission, you start doing a favor for the Rubiconians, I believe it is. And they want you to take this guy out. So I'm wondering if you stop attacking him, if you end up siding with him and against the Rubiconians, and you take like a different path. I don't know if this has two different options or not, but maybe on a second playthrough I'll figure it out. But I don't have that planned for a second playthrough right now. I think, like I'm saying, or like I had said before in a previous video, I'm going to finish Armored Core 6 and then Elden Ring, then Elden Ring DLC. Elden Ring is going to provide a good amount of videos. And then Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII, the second one, or the remakes for both. I have seen nothing about 7's remake for part 2. Literally nothing. I don't want to see anything. I'll just play through it normally. I really enjoyed the remake for the first portion of the game, even though they took a lot of creative liberties with it. If you are watching this and you know who you are, you know I can yap endlessly about absolute nonsense. And I really miss talking to you. And I really miss hearing your voice. And I really miss seeing your smile. I'm sorry for all the sappy stuff for everybody else or anybody else who's watching this, but I don't think y'all understand exactly how much I miss this person. She completely changed my entire life for the better, and I just can't see her. So for now, this is the best I can do. Just to let you know I'm thinking about you. I'll never forget you, and I'm always here waiting. Okay. Back to this book. How much time we got? Oh, look. We've made it a decent amount, only 16 minutes. Maybe I can make it through another chapter. Hold on, let me see how long it is. Hey, yo, this chapter is 2 pages. I can make it through this one. And the next one's only 3 pages. I don't read super fast. But, alright. Let's just go ahead. We'll see how far we can make it in 15 minutes. Next chapter is titled L23 Fate. Your room service is here, Ryuzaki. Tonight we have Kototai Dango from Mukoijima. Wataru, mimicking a hotel waiter, wheeled in a cart and noticed that something wasn't right. The sweets piled high on the table, which L would normally devour in one sitting, remained untouched. Is something the matter, Ryuzaki? The death note, which was supposed to be under lock and key, lay open in front of L, who was staring intently at it. Kira and I have a score to settle. Too many people have lost their lives already. L held up the death note with the edge pinched between his fingers and pointed to the open page. This is the last name to be written in the death note. L. Lawlight will die quietly of a heart attack 23 days from this date. L's real name, the one and only L and Wataru knew, was unmistakably written in L's own hand. Walter stared to open his mouth, but stopped and closed his eyes to contain his feelings. He would accept L's every decision and support him however possible. That was what he had resolved to do the very first time he met L at the time of the Winchester mad bombings, when an 8-year-old L had prevented the outbreak of World War III. Walter was well aware that L would analyze the facts objectively and determine for himself what he must do at every turn. If he came to the conclusion that there was only one move to get him to checkmate, then he would choose it without hesitation, even at the expense of his own life. At the same time, L recognized that his life and work had saved countless lives. If that sounds melodramatic, then perhaps countless people were spared from early deaths. And yet, this was the choice L had made. How could Walter object? And besides, the fate inscribed in the death note could not be reversed no matter what anyone said or did. Suppressing all emotion, Walter uttered quietly, "So it's 23 days later." 23 days, Walter. From now on, you must safeguard the world with the other letters. L reached for a snack as if a burden had been lifted from his shoulders. "I don't know that any of them can take your place." Walter shook his head and sighed. L. At Wami's house, this letter did not signify the 12th letter of the alphabet alone. It stood for Last One, the one who stood alone without a successor. L also stood for Lost One, as in a child dropped from heaven by some omnipotent being. Ever since the boy, barely 8 years old, made his existence known as the peerless and unrivaled detective, L had been given the power to dispatch the police and intelligence agencies of the world. It became the purpose of Wami's house to find and nurture a child with the talent to follow in L's footsteps. We'll need to restructure at Wami's as well. Walter reached over the rounded back of L as the detective ate the dango and turned his thoughts toward the world after L. L would not only vanish from the world, but from Walter's own life. Oh, that's sad. I'm going to have to rewatch Death Note. So for anybody paying attention this far in, by the way, thank you if you have made it this far in. I only have, I believe there are 7 black editions of Death Note. I may have to recheck that. I believe there are only 7, but I only own 3 of them and have not finished reading all the way through 3. I have a stupid amount of manga. I think the last time I counted, it was like 300 or 400 volumes. I mean, I don't have a library yet. I think you have to have over 1,000 books to be considered a personal library. I'm approaching that pretty damn quickly with all my manga and novels and textbooks and what the fuck's it called? I just have a lot of books in general. Novels, textbooks, informational books, strategy guides, mangas, light novels. I have a lot of books. I think in total I probably have, I don't know, maybe 600, 700 books. So I'm quickly approaching what could be considered a personal library, but I only have 3 out of the 7 black editions of Death Note, and I haven't finished, but I own the Blu-ray of Death Note. And I've seen Death Note as a series multiple times. I love it. I absolutely love Death Note. It's just fantastic. I am eager to see whether or not the manga and anime differ towards the end. I know that people that I've read before and seen before on YouTube critiques and everything of Death Note were not very satisfied with the last part of Death Note, the L and Mellow part after L. But maybe the manga is different. I don't know. We'll find out. In any event, let's continue. This chapter is only 3 pages. So I'll finish this one and then just chill and comment the last part of the video. L-19 destroyed. Next chapter. An enormous glass pot filled with white sugar cubes sat on a low table. L picked out the cubes with his left hand and popped them in his mouth one at a time. There were over 50 monitors set up in front of the sofa. Until yesterday, every one of them had displayed the news and surveillance videos from around the world, but having served their purpose, all the monitors were now black, except one. Elle was watching a Japanese television program. A celebrity divorce was being reported as a big scoop. Just as Elle turned toward the monitor, there were sounds of hurried activity in the wings of the studio. The broadcast cut away to an emergency press conference being held by the Metropolitan Police Department. Following a few words from the superintendent of police, Soichiro Yagami took the microphone. We are pleased to report that the case in the matter of Kira's indiscriminate murder of criminals is closed. Kira will never commit another crime. The conference room buzzed with excitement at the announcement, and questions flew from every direction. Does that mean you've arrested him? Or is Kira dead? Can you explain how Kira was killing his victims? Answer the question. With a single tantalizing claim, Soichiro Yagami ended the conference and left amid the press's clamoring for questions. The conference room was in an uproar. Elle stared at the screen without any hint of emotion. So Kira, no, Light, is dead. Elle heard a voice ring out, though had anyone else been with him, they would have heard nothing. Elle did not appear to be shaken. However, it was because a grotesque non-human outline was silhouetted on the floor, a shadow blocking the light spilling from the open door of the room. Only a Shinigami, a death god with the ability to pass freely through walls, was capable of entering Elle's suite without triggering the security system. The death note brought to this world by you, a Shinigami. There were actually 2 death notes next to Elle. Slowly, he picked up one of them and brought it closer to the candle flame. The Shinigami Ryuk, despite looking somewhat displeased, did not try to stop him. Ah, I was hoping you would find an interesting use for it, and I told you all of the rules for it and everything. An interesting use? For this? Elle looked up and gave Ryuk a hard look. His image was reflected in Ryuk's enormous eyes. I dropped this notebook in this world because all of us in the Shinigami realm were bored. At least Light gave us a good show. I was hoping you would entertain us by finding an amusing use for it, too, Ryuk said. There isn't anything amusing about killing people. Besides, I've already used the notebook. Elle opened the notebook and held it up pinched between his fingers. I've written my own name in the death note. This will be the first and last time I will use it. Bringing his face too close to the notebook, Ryuk sniffed at the pages and stared at the name. The name Light so desperately wanted to know. Who would have thought you would write in the death note yourself? Ryuk twisted the large mouth that extended to his ears and snickered, his sharply pointed teeth peeking out between his lips. With a notebook in hand, Elle was still, as if he'd forgotten that the Shinigami was there. Ryuk watched for a moment, and after a while, he twisted his body unnaturally and cracked his neck. You're really not going to use it? That's no fun. Uttering the same words he said when Light died, Ryuk flapped his wings windlessly and disappeared through the ceiling. Then there was silence. Again, Elle continued to gaze at the notebook, biting his nails all the while. Damn! Okay. So for anybody who hasn't seen Death Note, maybe some spoilers, I don't know. I was under the impression, and I haven't seen the entirety of Death Note in a while, especially the episode with Elle's death. But if I recall correctly, it was the other Shinigami. I can't remember her name, but Misa's Shinigami. I thought it was her Shinigami that wrote Elle's name in the Death Note. And then he dies shortly after. Because Light basically just... I forget exactly what happens, but... to the best of my knowledge, he kind of coerces her by... I don't know, like blackmailing her or some shit. Because she's basically in love with Misa. Or she loves Misa. Maybe she's not in love with her, but... he convinces Misa's Shinigami, I forget her name, to write L's name. But according to this book here, L wrote his own name in the Death Note. Which Death Note, I'm not sure. Whether it was Misa's or Light's, that he was going to die 23 days later. So, I don't know if this is a retcon or not. Let me see when this was published. It has to be after. Has to be after Death Note was published. 100%. Cannot not be. Oh, the first printing was in 2009. I don't know when the first printing of Death Note was. Hold on. Are there not ISBNs on manga? Oh shit, okay. Never mind. Death Note Chapter 1 was written in 2003, so I'll have to do a little research on this. But I feel like this may be a retcon. Very well could be. Oh man, I totally forgot I had bought the first copy of Tokyo Ghoul. Apparently that's another one that the manga is much, much better than the anime. I'll have to read it. Okay. Back to the video. I've already put my book away. I did save my page with the tassel. In this video, I do mention that a lot of Dark Souls are basically just From Software games in general. They do a 2-boss battle. And right here, another From Software staple is a 2-boss battle. So, normally in these boss fights, what you have is a boss that moves very, very fast. Very, very fast and chases you around the map. And then you have another boss that's a bit slower, but does very, very heavy hitting. 9 times out of 10, you are much better off taking out the boss that moves much faster. So, in Dark Souls, you have your classic Ornstein and Smough. I've never fought Ornstein and Smough. Yeah, Smough. I've never fought anything like that in Demon Souls because I've never played Demon Souls. Dark Souls 2 and 3, I can't remember. Oh, in Dark Souls 3, maybe it's the Twin Princes. I don't remember. Dark Souls 2, I don't remember. But here, yeah, it was much, much easier. I don't know if it's because playing on PC and I have mouse and keyboard. But yeah, I don't know. Much easier. Sekiro, I don't remember a 2-boss fight. Bloodborne, you get the 3 guys at the same time, and that was an obnoxious fight the very first time I did it. But after a while, you get pretty used to it. You get them all like half health, kill one, and then kill the last 2. They do start getting real stupid once you start getting them really, really low. So it's always best to kind of get them all semi-low, like maybe halfway, then target one. Obviously target the one that's the katana guy. The Tonitrus guy I always leave for last, I think. Oh man, and then Elden Ring, you have the Godskin duos. I absolutely fucking hate that fight. The only thing to do in that fight, at least for me, it's what I did, is I put those motherfuckers to sleep. I use the bow, I craft some sleep arrows, put those motherfuckers to sleep, do what I need to, and then be done with that fight. Fuck that fight. They are not fair. Both of them are hyper aggro. Both of them move way too fucking fast. Both of them have ranged attacks. No. Godskin duos is absolutely unfair. Alright. So it's already approaching midnight. It's 11:40. July 11th. Yeah, I know. This video is going up at a weird time, but it's going to take a little while to get uploaded. It's going to take like at least another hour, so hopefully nothing gets copyrighted. If that's the case, then I'm just going to use this playlist in the background every single time. We'll see what happens. But if you've made it this far and you are not the person that I want to see this, thank you, and I appreciate you. Again, not doing this for any monies, not doing this for any fame, just making videos to have fun and to reach out to one person in the hopes that she sees it and knows that I'm still thinking about her. And yeah. And now specifically to you, the one person, I miss you so much every goddamn day. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what's going on with you anymore. But you're always on my mind. Not a day goes by that I don't think about you. Not a day goes by that I don't miss you. Not a day goes by that I don't think about how things could have been different. I love you endlessly till the end of time itself. I'll always be waiting for you, no matter how long it takes. I'm yours forever. I'm yours always. Please don't forget about me. For everybody else, and for you, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you later. Bye.